In this tutorial, we will work with the Entity Info Property Sheet. The Entity Info Property Sheet shows the type and the name of the selected entity. Within this property sheet, we can provide the entity with a unique name, define the number of passes the entity is marked with for the defined mark pen. Select if the outline, the hatch, or both attributes are actively marked. Now, we should take a close look at mark loop count, mark beat count, and mark beat offset. Mark loop. This is the most used of the three. Mark loop defines how often an entity is marked when a mark command is issued. For example, a circle can be marked once, twice, or 100 times or more. This is essentially a multipass tool for a given entity. Mark beat count defines after how many subsequent mark commands an entity should be part of the mark. For example, a value of 2 would have the system mark on the first mark job command. Skip the second and then mark again on the third mark job command. Mark beat offset. This feature allows a shift of the mark beat count for every entity. For example, a mark beat offset of 1 would skip the first issued mark job command, then mark on the second offset 1 from the first, and so on. Let's use the following table to create a chart that makes sense of all of this. We'll have 3 entities inside a job with the settings as shown in the table. With these settings, the follow mark sequence can be generated. Entity 1 is marked every mark 1 time, so each time the mark job is executed, Entity 1 marks with a single pass. Entity 2 is marked every second mark and then 10 times, so it's marked every other time mark job is executed with 10 passes. Entity 3 is marked every third mark and then 5 times the beat count is offset by 1, so the first time the entity will be marked is on mark command 2. You may want to review this section more than once if there is any confusion, but for the most case, mark loop is set for the number of passes and mark beat offset left set to 0. This ends the tutorial on the Entity Info Property Sheet.